In breaking news, the president of CNN, Jeff Zucker, resigned today because it turned out that he had a relationship with a close colleague that he had failed to disclose. This all broke as part of the investigation into Chris Cuomo because of how CNN handled horribly his relationship with Andrew Cuomo and how they just heaped praise on him throughout the entirety of the pandemic. And you all know the story. I don't need to get into that. But because of that investigation, Jeff Zucker was asked about, quote, a consensual relationship with my closest colleague. And he has since resigned because he didn't disclose the relationship. So he says himself, when we scroll down, he says that I acknowledge the relationship evolved in recent years. I was required to disclose it when it began, but I didn't. I was wrong. As a result, I am resigning today. And Brian Stelter is the one who broke this announcement on Twitter. And the person he was in a relationship with is Allison Gollust, who we'll talk about in just 1 second. He says that they were friends for a long time. They'd worked together for 20 years, and it's only recently that things started changing. It's also important to point out that this isn't necessarily out of the blue, because last year, CNN had announced that he was almost retiring, but he decided to stay because of COVID and all of that stuff. So it's not as if this is out of nowhere. He was planning to resign in the first place. This is just another, incentive to make him resign right now. And interestingly enough, Gollust, the person he had a relationship with, is actually one of the top contenders to take over his job. So why am I talking about this? It doesn't really seem all that important. I mean, CNN sucks anyway, we don't care. But I'm talking about this because it does show a little bit why there is so little trust in media like CNN. And no, it's not because he was sleeping with someone and didn't mention it. I don't really care too much about that. It was consensual. But the point that is relevant is how this ties into the Cuomos and the Democratic Party at large. So both of these people, Gollust and Zucker, had worked at NBC Universal for something like 15 years. After that point, Gollust then began working for Governor Andrew Cuomo as a communications director. Now, it is true that she only worked for him for about 4 months, and then she came to CNN. But the point here is that you have all of these journalists who go from a job reporting the news to going and working for a Democratic politician and X, Y, or Z, and then goes right back to reporting the news supposedly in an unbiased way. That simply isn't how it works. When you have all of these people working at CNN who have very close relationships and affiliations with Democratic politicians, we saw the epitome of this with Andrew Cuomo throughout the entirety of COVID. They gave him glowing praise, and they failed to point out his horrible mistakes with COVID and with nursing homes. That is why we don't trust the media. And obviously CNN is not the only one who does this. Plenty of news organizations hire people who worked for politicians. It happens all the time and vice versa. And that's not great. But in answer to Brian Stelter, who the other day was whining that it seems like more people trust Joe Rogan over him, this is the reason why.
But not all opinions are created equal. You think about major newsrooms like CNN that have health departments and desks and operations that work hard on verifying information on COVID-19. And then you have talk show stars like Joe Rogan who just wing it, who make it up as they go along. And because figures like Rogan are trusted by people that don't trust real newsrooms, we have a problem that's much bigger than Spotify, much bigger than any single platform, Kate. But that's what is the heart of this right now.
Let's be honest, CNN does suck. They claim to be unbiased and just share the news and the facts, but that's not what they do. They share their version of the news and their version of the facts, which oftentimes don't relate to reality. Am I the only one who remembers Fiery but Peaceful? Come on, guys. Be sure to subscribe, leave a like, and a comment. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.